Alrighty, and welcome back to Disciples of the Force. Your same host as always, Spencer and Austin here. Last week, as I mentioned, we had so many technical difficulties. This week, I think we got it pretty figured out.
You got it figured out. I didn't do anything.
No, you being here is enough.
Is it?
I needed that.
Is it really?
So, no, that was good. I guess starting off, Star Wars news. Anything new you know about?
Dude, you know what? I was going to do my homework on the way over here.
And you didn't, huh?
And I didn't. Well, I did see some more new names for Star Wars Celebration. Do you remember what that is?
Yeah.
No, but like Hayden Christensen is going to be there. I think I saw. I would check.
Do you not have the Wi-Fi?
No, I have the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
I would, but my phone's filming it, so I can't. But let's just see. I'm just gonna pull up the Chrome real quick.
Yeah.
We can cut out this waiting time and post if we need to.
Yeah. Make my job harder. Yeah, it's totally fine.
No, go ahead and do it.
Go for it, dude. What do I care? It's just my fiance gets mad at me when she's over here and I don't spend time with her.
Oh well. We love her. Visions 2.
Oh, they have a release date?
Volume 2 release date. Yeah.
Ooh,
let's see.
What's that?
And the studio's revealed. So I see these things on Instagram, and I just kind of scroll past them.
Yeah, keep going. I'm gonna get that.
Turn that off. But I did see like 9 or so studios were revealed. I just didn't even think twice about it. I don't know any of these. Not a big anime guy. You are though, right?
Yeah, sure thing. Oh yes, Cartoon Saloon. They are the ones who made Chainsaw Man. That's a lie. No, I'm just kidding. I have no idea. I don't know. I think
is that a real anime though?
It is a real one because it just came out, and everyone I work with is like in love with it.
Yeah.
Oh, so they like. Oh shoot,
yeah,
they even have like
titles.
Yeah,
and everything.
Sith. That sounds
nice.
super sweet.
In the Stars, I Am Your Mother. Nice. Journey to the Dark Head. Whoa, these kind of...
hey.
What do these sound like?
What are they trying to get at?
They sound like Star Wars Visions. That's cool.
That's sweet. Oh yeah, they got a lot of them.
Oh yeah, May 4th, of course.
That's a great time to drop it.
So Bad Batch is gonna finish up. I don't know when, but I think there's 16 episodes, and they started January. So we'll be going into. That'll run right into The Mandalorian, which starts on March 1st. And then that'll go for 8 episodes, right?
Yes, that looks about right.
I think so. And then this will drop right after that. And I think they'll probably drop them all. Yeah, it looks like they'll drop them all on the same day like last time. So
sweet.
Pretty exciting.
Well, okay. I was reading through this. I just saw that
you're good.
The Pit, I don't know what that's going to be about, but it says Justin Ridge is the executive producer, and
who's that?
He credits being in Star Wars, credits in Star Wars Rebel, The Cleveland Show, Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh dang!
So I mean, he's a producer, so I don't think he's gonna have too much of a say in it, but that's kind of cool. I mean, those are things that
mine is saying co-director. He might be co-director.
Oh, does it? Oh shoot, yes, yeah. Co-director.
But he was an executive producer on the other things.
So I mean, clearly he's got. Those are shows I love.
Yeah, sweet.
Well, that'll be sweet. Okay, man.
Sweet.
Cool. Well, other than that, is there anything else in Star Wars news?
There was something about Star Wars Celebration. Our fans in Europe probably
we got them
keep better tabs on that. Tell them about our analytics, bro.
Yeah, so after looking at the analytics, we got 2 of our listeners in Germany, which is funny because we made a joke about having fans in Germany. And we didn't even know that till after it aired. Like, so that's just super funny.
Mr. Worldwide. We're international. It's Spencer's favorite artist. So,
no, yeah, definitely didn't ruin a relationship in high school. It's done.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's unpack that for a few minutes.
So,
okay, the Bad
Batch. Yeah. So, what did you think? You started off with the. What did you think about the episode, my friend?
Really liked it, man.
Sure.
I cannot praise the Bad Batch enough. First thing I want to acknowledge, last week, we were talking about that big Mecha Godzilla looking thing. I wanted to acknowledge I have played Jedi Fallen Order. Mm-hmm. When that thing first popped out and I saw the shape of its head, I was like, that looks like those things from Fallen Order, right?
Right.
But I haven't played it in like 2 years. You know, I do things with my life. I don't sit around and just play video games all the time. No, I haven't played it in like 2 years, and I was like, there's no way. It's like kind of deep lore. I'm sure they'll just keep it to the games. But after watching some other stuff, everybody thinks they're called Zephos. They're like these pre-Jedi civilization. And in the game, I should have realized this. The game is like solving a bunch of puzzles and stuff.
Which is what the episode
Which
was.
is exactly what the episode was about.
So you're not a real fan.
No, I'm not, I guess. No, but I was like, I can't believe I didn't even realize that. But that's cool. Because when this episode started, so kind of a tangent here, but Jedi Fallen Order, video game about a Jedi named Cal Kestis. Really fun video games. Have you played them?
I have not.
So there's only one now, I guess but there's one coming out soon. It just got delayed 6 weeks. I guess that's Star Wars news. Got delayed until like a week before May 4th. I remember thinking like the end of April.
But I thought there was one of those that was only PlayStation exclusive.
That might be it. Well, it's an EA game. I don't know if that's PlayStation exclusive.
There was one Star Wars game that might have been that one. I can look it up.
I can't remember. But yeah, so it got delayed. Anyway, so the first game you open up and he's on Bracca, like this trash planet that they explored in the first season of The Bad Batch. And then we've never heard about anything about the Zephos other than Fallen Order. And then we get it in The Bad Batch. And one of the planets you explore in Jedi Fallen Order is Kashyyyk. And then the very next episode, we're in Kashyyyk.
Right.
In The Bad Batch. So I'm like, man, are they going to tie Cal Kestis in? I really hope they don't. But that would be cool. And I think the timelines don't match up either. I think his takes place like 5 years after the Empire or something. But anyway, just kind of interesting that it's kind of following that line.
That is cool. I did not know that. And also, I just looked. It's not an exclusive, so I'm just a fake fan.
Yeah, you should play it. I mean, I think it's a little overhyped. That might be a pretty cold take or a hot take for everybody. I don't know which one's better.
I never know you. Boomers, dude.
Yeah, we're millennials, I guess. We're not freaking 40 losers.
Well,
if you
we're
are,
not, we're not 40.
Yeah, we're losers. We're just not 40. We're 24-year-old losers. Oh, geez, what were we just saying?
We were talking about the episode. Oh, we were just talking about Jedi Fallen Order.
Okay, yeah. The Jedi Fallen Order game isn't... I mean, it's great. The problem I have with it is it's really hard to do lightsaber combat in a video game. You know, especially like a Disney-produced video game. There's no dismemberments.
Oh, really?
Like, you're killing these stormtroopers. It takes you like 10 hits to hit them. That's like a big problem with Star Wars games in general, is you'll always have to make the lightsaber like blunt. You know,
because it's too OP.
You'd be too OP. It wouldn't even be a fun game. But so you can't cut off any stormtrooper arms or anything. You can cut off droid arms. But and it's like a really linear game. I don't love linear games like that. But anyway, everybody's super hyped for the next one. I am too, because of what it'll open up in the story. But big tangent. There might be some coincidence there
that would be cool. That would be cool. All right, well, so then we jump into this episode.
Okay.
Loved it.
Yeah, great.
Gungi, when he first appeared in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, I was like, his lightsaber was hands down the sickest one.
I know. The one that's made out of the wood, yeah.
I thought, wow.
Yeah.
And then, all those guys, like, you never hear from them again. So I thought that was so cool that that he lived, he survived the executive order, which is like, did I say executive or is it just order? I'm just presidential, order.
Dude. Joe Biden.
I'm just like thinking about politics.
Right, dude. Yeah. For our other podcast.
Yeah. Big political
the
guy.
Sleepy Joe podcast.
Yeah. Anyways, loved that. I thought that was super sick. One of my favorite things of that episode was because looking back, they always do things that are like kind of on topic, like with what's going on politically, like right. Deforestation, like that's a crazy thing they put in there. I thought that was really cool. And I always say this, but the animation, that episode was just really, really, really good.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Yeah.
Sorry, a little burp there, but my favorite part. If I can remember, I wrote it down so I can remember.
Let's see if you can.
Yes. So the Kinrath, I learned their names. Those little creatures,
right? When
they're taking up Vinmore.
Yes.
That part was so dark.
So dark.
Yeah. He's like screaming,
and Gungi just like turns his back and they walk away.
And he walks away, dude. I was like, and like that's what I love about these series is like you would think like it's a kid's show, but it's not. Like that's so dark.
Yeah, there's that joke about the Clone Wars always like showing war crimes, you know, that it's like super crazy. Yeah, and it is so funny because what are they called? Kinjars, you said?
The Kinrath.
Kinrath. It comes down, like pushes Gungi. And then I was like, are they going to kill Gungi?
Yeah.
He just turns around and they just whip it up. That was funny.
That was so good. Yeah.
Crazy.
I love that part. That was my favorite part because like it's so dark. It's so funny.
Yeah. Another thing I liked about this episode, just kind of going off that, is kind of remind me of Avatar.
Yeah.
Like the connection that the Wookiees have with the forest. That we see Kashyyyk a lot. We see it in the video games, you know, every once in a while. We've seen it, it was first featured in the Life Day special, or the Star Wars holiday special.
Yeah, that George Lucas
tried to destroy. So I actually haven't seen
that.
I've seen the animated part that Boba Fett first appears in.
Yes,
I've seen all of that, but I've never seen the Wookiee part where they. Yeah. Anyway, so we've seen it in that, and then obviously Revenge of the Sith, right? But we really haven't gotten to see the Wookiees kind of explore their own planet. And that was really cool, like that connection they have. Kind of, I think it has to do with the living force somehow, that they're connected to all the life in the trees or something like that.
Yes. But I did like that part too, because like they kind of like pray to it. Like,
yeah.
I didn't even think, it was watching that breakdown by Screen Rant. Wrong. What is
that? That is crazy.
Yeah, 2 weeks in a row. Crush. Screen Crush. Screen Crush.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's whatever you want it to be at this point. You do whatever you want. No, Screen Crush.
I didn't even realize, like, because like I saw them, we're gonna pray. And they must have said it in the, or maybe they didn't say it, but they talk about like permission to burn it down. Do you think was that said in the episode? Because he said like they're asking permission so they can burn the force to get rid of them, which I was like, oh, because I was wondering what they were doing. I was like, why are they praying to, or like, you know?
Yeah, because I think he mentioned Ryan Airy mentions that this was like a scrapped Clone Wars arc. When Disney bought it, they canceled the Clone Wars, and this was something that was already written by George Lucas. And that part I think was explicitly said in the other ones. The Clone Wars arc, but then it kind of it's same message. Like
same message.
Yeah. But I thought that was cool that it was the Trandoshans, because like that's a kind of deep history in Star Wars. The Trandoshan lizard people versus the Wookiees, that they hate each other, you know?
Right. Because in Solo they fight, don't they?
Yeah. Well, or I can't remember. In Book of Boba Fett, Black Krrsantan like tries to kill the Trandoshans.
That's what it was.
I was thinking too, because Sid, who they work for, is Trandoshan.
Oh, she is?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Well, because she's got like a totally different character design. Like she's kind of squat and shorter and, you know, bigger and whatever.
Yeah.
But I was wondering like what she would think of them helping out a Wookiee. Like if she's just like a wild racist, you know,
she's
that like hates Wookiees too.
You did what?
Right. Or the Trandoshans like painted as these bad guys. The first time we kind of saw it, and one of my favorite Clone Wars arcs, I think it's also Gungi. I think it's that same arc where Ahsoka has the Padawans. I think it's after Ilum, or maybe it's got to be after.
It's after, yeah.
They're on this forest planet, and the Trandoshans are like hunting them.
Yes,
it's like kind of an homage to The Most Dangerous Game, that story.
Right, where they go and hunt people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that was really cool because we get to see like that rivalry between Trandoshans and how evil they are, and they're just this hunting type. So I thought that was cool. What else? Oh, one thing I caught was I've got it here in my notes. Hunter, when he tells Gungi to keep his lightsaber hidden, he says, "Keep that laser sword away."
Yes.
Just kind of funny. Star Wars fans get so upset about laser sword, but I think George Lucas calls it a laser sword and a lightsaber like interchangeably. Yeah. But I just thought that was funny.
Put that laser sword away.
Because you know when they do that, it's intentional.
Right. They don't.
They know it's going to piss some people off or start a Reddit thread or whatever.
The other thing I liked about the episode was when they first find Gungi, and he's very hesitant to, you know, accept the clones, making sense because of what had happened, you know, literally murder. And it kind of was like a flashback to Kanan and Star Wars Rebels, because that's exactly how he was when he sees Rex. He's like, dude, I don't trust these guys at all. You know, that's a whole, you know, for a long time before he finally gains their trust. But it's like that's such a huge thing to happen. Like, and I think it's going to keep happening as they go on and finding people who've survived Order 66.
Right.
That they're going to have really just this distrust because it's like, dude, you literally murdered everyone.
Yeah.
You know? And I thought that I love how they always kind of put that in there because it's so, because like if Gunji was just like, oh, okay, that would be really weird because he's got to be like, what is.
Yeah, it wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah. He's like, F these guys. Yeah. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. Another thing I thought about their rescue is it kind of had some parallels to like the Death Star rescue where, oh man, I had this like profound thought yesterday. I was going to write it down, but
you're in the shower and you're just like, damn.
I was like, yeah, it's like Omega is like Luke and Gunji is like Leia, and she rescues him, and it was just a totally kiss, dumb thought.
But they find out they're
yeah, and then they make. Did you watch that part? No. But yeah, that was cool. Also, like that droid outpost that was run by
in the beginning.
That even had him. And that's another crazy thing. That's the thing I love about Star Wars is it's got all these kind of dark plot lines. And we see it kind of in Solo, like the Wookiees that are slaves.
Yeah.
Like the Empire. And you see that in Fallen Order too. The Empire uses Wookiees as slaves all the time. It's super messed up.
They're strong.
Yeah, because they're strong, right? But
I was going to do a joke, but I won't. Keep going. I'll tell you after the podcast.
Okay, let's hear it later. Write it down. Jeez, what was I going to say, man?
Was it still the profound thing, slaving the Wookiees?
Oh, yeah. Empire? So, like, also, you think of spice in the Star Wars universe. Like, it's just this drug that everybody's addicted to that, like, runs the economy of the galaxy. And kinda the Wookiees have to work in the spice mines too. It's just kind of crazy. But there's all these kind of darker themes in such a like kid-oriented show.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, slavery is a big thing. I mean, Anakin and his mom's slaves, you know?
Yeah.
Crazy.
And that was during the Republic era too.
Yeah.
You know?
Like even with the
that
Republic.
Stuff was always going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I don't think I had any other thoughts. Really cool episode. I really liked not only the animation, but the music.
Yeah, music was good.
Crazy.
Like a little jungle vibe.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Like when they first encounter the Trandoshans, there was just one part in it where I was like, man, I cannot believe this is for one episode of a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's good music. But that was pretty much everything I could think of. Oh, also, I have in my notes here, Star Wars food. When she like gives Gunji that food, it made me think of those weird sticks that Luke is eating on Dagobah that Yoda, when he first meets him, like takes and eats. Star Wars food is just always really funny, like the blue milk and the funny looking like sticks that they eat. I just thought that was funny. But
my last thought on the episode was the very end when Hunter was like, they're just kids and like they're just stuck in a war. You know, like they'll never be like truly how kids are, which is a really crazy commentary. Like just thinking about wars in general, like in real life, like World War II, World War I, like there was children, you know, and that just lived through it, and they couldn't really be kids, like, you know, and they showed them kind of Gunji and Omega hanging out, kind of playing. It's like they don't get that. Like Omega never gets to just go mess around.
Yeah.
And I know in Screen Crush, what's his name? Ryan Erie. I remember.
Nice.
He talks about how, as well, like that's why Hunter wanted to do a lot of those missions to get money so he could provide a life for her, which is really cool because it's like, you know, she is a kid, but she's never going to be one, especially with the Empire and what it's doing.
Yeah, and I think that's such an awesome direction for this show to take. That they were bred for war, you know, and the men of the Bad Batch, that's all they've ever known is war.
Right.
And now they have to deal with kind of the aftermath of trying to start a new life. And I think that's a really cool theme. And then you also have Omega, who was also bred for a similar purpose, like in the same program, right? But for something different that we still don't know all the details to. But she has to deal with the same thing, but we see it through a totally different lens.
Right.
You know, she's just getting started in her life and has to kind of understand. But that's the other thing too, is they understand wanting to lay low and get away from it all. She was locked up on Kamino her whole life, you know?
Yeah.
And so she wants to get out and explore and experience all these things. And I think that's an awesome way to drive the plot forward. That kind of unity in the same mission, but like the two different viewpoints. So
Yeah.
I think it'll be a cool series, and I think you could make it last for a really long time too.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah, and I do wonder what's, are they? I mean, I feel like they're just gonna. I think the ending is. You think it's gonna be like Rogue One, where they just kill them all?
Here's what I was thinking, man. So we know that. Well, we don't know. I don't think, but Omega is like force sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Somehow Palpatine returned, right? Everything that's going on right now, everything that's going on right now in Star Wars is trying to explain that.
Yeah.
And so we have that subplot of this series that we haven't explored a lot this season, that the cloners are in a new location and they still want to get Omega because there's something special about her.
Mm-hmm.
Probably her high midichlorian count, right? Fast forward to The Mandalorian, that's also why the Empire wants Grogu.
Right.
So why are they hunting Grogu instead of hunting Omega?
Yeah.
Omega's dead. Probably.
She's probably gone.
Like they probably like something happened,
Yeah.
Or she's still alive and we just don't know that post-Empire is looking for an older Omega.
Right. They're like, okay.
But either way, that means if Palpatine returns, we got to see Grogu die or Omega.
Yeah.
So,
jeez.
Or they can write in some... No, they wouldn't do that because the whole reason they exist as characters is to serve that plot. So one of them has to...
One of them's got to be gone.
Actually, it's Grogu. Actually.
You want Grogu gone?
I like Omega now.
I do.
She got better character development than stupid Grogu.
Grogu can't even talk.
Can't even talk.
He's just
a cute little big-eyed, big-eared dummy.
I'm Grogu. Punt that baby if I saw it.
No, but yeah, we're gonna have to watch one of them die, and it'll be insane.
I think I'm with you. I think Grogu dies.
Yeah, Grogu. Let's
kill him. Let's
just write him.
All right. Anyways, you want to spin the wheel?
Let's spin the wheel.
You want to spin the wheel? Let's spin that wheel.
Okay, I can't see it.
I know it's gonna be a real surprise for you.
Oh.
It's one that you wrote. Oh, it just changed. That is
sure it did. That's so
funny.
Made up.
I swear to you, it was on Book of Boba Fett. And it just kept going and just went to
it's all good.
Plot holes. Which I'm excited to do.
Okay.
So, what the plot holes one is, there's a website. I'm going to pull it up right here. And it lists all the plot holes in Star Wars, but it came out in May of last year. So it's like a lot of these have been answered.
Oh, really?
But this thing, like even from like past series.
So maybe it's just some goof.
I think it's just some goof, but I think it'll be fun to look at because I'm like, that has an answer. And and if there's not an answer, our goal is to attempt to explain why that exists.
We'll just make it up.
We'll just make it up. Fan theory. So let me go ahead and click on these. So the first one it says, did you click on the note or no?
Oh, let me.
You don't have to.
Sorry. No, let me go ahead and do that, man.
Well, just if you want to have it in front of you.
Oh, that's great.
The first one is Obi-Wan Kenobi has forgotten who R2-D2 is. What is so you know how he sees him for the first time?
Right.
Like, I never recall owning a droid.
I don't seem to recall ever owning a droid.
That one, from what I've seen answered, is that he didn't.
He didn't own a droid.
So it's not a lie.
Yeah.
But what do you think?
No, I totally agree. You know how later in the trilogy where Luke calls him out for lying to him about his dad?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, from what I told you was true from a certain point of view.
Right.
I think Obi-Wan, dude, just covering his tracks, just lying like crazy. No, but I think I've seen a lot of theories on that, like more than I would think of. The one I remember most is that he never owned a droid. I mean, he did have that droid R4
that gets obliterated in
in the battle over Coruscant.
Yeah.
But he had that droid, but there was never like a huge connection. I mean, we did see one in the Clone Wars. I mean, out of universe explanation, George Lucas hadn't thought of that yet.
Right.
You know?
He's the first.
In universe, I think he was either lying to protect Luke, which is a pretty common theme for Obi-Wan's character. So I think that is probably most likely. Or he was just being an innocent old man and being like, maybe making an innocent joke. I never owned that droid, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, I think it also playing, he's freaking in a cave for years.
Yeah. Yeah.
He might, dude, his mind might be crazy at that point. Like, dude, I don't know.
Because if you think about it, R2 wasn't around Obi-Wan for that long.
That is true. He's only
because that's a cool detail in Star Wars that Anakin built C-3PO
mm-hmm.
and R2 started out as Padme's astromech droid.
Mm-hmm.
When they get married on Naboo, they gift each other the droids.
Right.
Because then later on in the series, R2 is always with Anakin, and then C-3PO, at least in the Clone Wars mostly, but also in Revenge of the Sith, he's always with Padme.
Always with Padme.
So within that time, the Clone Wars does kind of tangle that up a little bit because there are a lot of references to R4 or R2,
mm-hmm.
sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But you see like the opening of Revenge of the Sith, where Obi-Wan is like being a dick about R2
because he's trying the elevator.
Yeah, because he's like trying to get the elevator, and Anakin like has to tell him he's trying his best, he's doing his best, defending him. So from that point, I think the movies set it up pretty nicely. Obi-Wan doesn't know that much about R2 except that he's an idiot droid, like he just doesn't like him. Also, that's another thing. So maybe Obi-Wan is just this droid racist. Doesn't care.
He's a droidist.
Yeah, he's a droidist. Because when he's in the diner in Attack of the Clones getting information on Kamino, he says, if droids could think, none of us would be here or whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe he just hates droids.
That could be.
Hates flying, hates droids. But yeah, I think that's the best explanation.
All right.
He never owned them. So
I think so too. And like you said, the real answer hasn't gotten there yet.
But even then, even though we hadn't gotten there, like R2 definitely recognizes him unless that was programmed into him somehow, because all he knows is he has to find Obi-Wan Kenobi to relay the message.
Mm-hmm.
But he goes straight to his house and is like excited when he's around him.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, maybe he remembers him. I mean, R2.
But then they got their minds wiped.
Yes, they did. They did at the end of Revenge of the Sith.
But is it because but he had to know who he was, like when Leia sent him out, like
right.
So
yeah, so he knew.
I'm
just trying to think. I feel like I remember reading something that like undid the mind wiping, but I can't remember.
That's your homework next week.
Yeah, that is my homework next week. Maybe I just in my head canon I was like, that's dumb. I wish they didn't wipe their minds, but
yeah.
Anyway, let's go on.
Well, let's jump to the next one.
Okay, shall we?
This one, I think it's a common thing throughout all Star Wars. It says Luke Skywalker keeps forgetting he has the Force, which it's like everyone does, though.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many times like, why don't they just use the Force? But I think the way I kind of think about it is like, you always have it. And so it's like, I don't know, like I'm trying to think of something that would be similar. But like for example, when someone's like, dude, did this, like, let's say, for example, like, who won the Super Bowl in 2006? And no one can remember, and you all think about it for a while. Yeah. You can just pull up your phone in a second.
Right.
That answer doesn't come, like, people don't realize that for, like, a long time. Finally, like, I'll just look it up. It's like, well, then why didn't you do it in the beginning? It's like, I think it's something like that kind of, like, you forget that you have it, but you have it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And, if I ever wrote a movie, that'd be a scene I'd have, like, him, the guy like doing something really hard, and then someone like, dude, why don't you just use the Force? He's like, oh, dude, yeah, it's a good point. I could just use that.
Right.
So what were you gonna say?
No, but just another example. Like that makes me think of street interviews. Where the guy runs up and he's like, name 5 famous women, and they're like, like 5 famous women. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they can never do it.
Right.
It's like that information, it's just not readily available. Like when you're put on the spot like that. If you're a Jedi and you need to use the Force in a moment, like you're going to be stressed, a lot of stuff's going on, you might not even think of it.
That's what I'm saying.
But also there's, in the Phantom Menace where Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon use like Force speed.
Yeah, and it's never used again.
Zip away, never used again. It's just like, if you always use, like they could use Force speed to get out of so many situations.
Yeah.
Like lightsaber battles would look so whack if everybody used that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine the battle between Darth Vader and Luke on the Death Star 2 and they're just zipping around in the dark. Like it would be dumb. So yeah, it's just, you can't write it into everything. And also I think the in-universe explanation talks about like a respect for the Force, like if they can handle it another way,
they do.
And obviously it's something mucky, and it's only going to get muckier with more stories where we see people use the Force and not use the Force. But
yeah, I mean, there's no way to, like, I don't know. Like, yeah, there's tons of times when you could do it. I just think, like you're saying, stressful situations, like you don't think about things. You just, like your reaction isn't the force, because you have to kind of be like, you have to kind of take a second to use it. Like you can't just, it's not like, oh, I got it. Like they have to take a second. And like sometimes, like for example, in Rebels, you see Ezra, he's got to really focus to do something. So it's stuff like that. Like, so that's what I'm thinking.
I want to see specifically what they
said about it.
Mentioned, yeah, like
what.
By the time of Return of the Jedi, he's quite seasoned. During the battle with the Rancor at Jabba the Hutt's palace, he physically throws a rock at a control panel to kill the beast. Yeah, that's kind of funny. Especially, wasn't levitating rocks while doing a handstand part of the training with Yoda. That's funny. But dude, there's no way you're thinking of it. He's known the Force at this point for like 2-3 years. Okay, I think the whole trilogy takes place over 4 years. So since he's had like a pretty good mastery of the Force, where he's been able to lift rocks and everything, 2 years max, right?
Yeah,
maybe 3. No way you're thinking, dude, a Rancor, that big ugly thing, is coming at you. No way you're gonna think, oh, I need to use my training that I've known for like a couple years now and toss that.
Yeah,
instincts kicking in, you're throwing that
a rock.
Thing, right?
I agree. It's like, because he's so new to him, it's so foreign. I don't know. I think it's a funny one to be in.
That is funny.
Okay.
That is funny.
The next one is Poe Dameron survived the crash. Whoa, big burp on Jakku.
Oh, what's going on?
Which when I watched that, I thought the same thing. I was like, they never talk about how he survived it.
Is this in The Force Awakens?
Yeah. It's when they crash. So it's when him and Finn escape. Oh
yeah.
And then Finn thinks
Finn
he's
wakes
dead.
Up and he's dead. He's gone.
Like, gone.
Where does he end up being again? I'm sorry, I've got to watch this again.
Is it say in there? Because from what I remember,
I've literally never thought of that. That just made sense to me that he just popped up.
Yeah, from what I remember, he said he got thrown from it, and like he was just farther away from than where it was.
Right.
I think that's what his explanation is, if I remember correctly.
That is crazy.
But it's just like, it is weird because it's like, oh, he's dead. Because I remember I was watching with Ellie and she was like, is he dead? And I was like, yeah.
And she believed you because
he's gone.
Yeah.
So I think the explanation is, if I remember right, he was thrown from it and he was just thrown a lot farther, and that's why I didn't see him.
That is funny.
I don't really have an answer for that one. I thought.
Yeah. Listen.
That's not a Star Wars movie.
It's sequel trilogy. We'll have to do like a series of podcasts on picking out plot holes in the sequel trilogy.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's the thing is like, we talked about it last episode, but it got cut due to technical issues. But yeah, I don't know. I think we'll just skip over those because there's things that there's so many.
There's bigger ones that
Okay, this one I need to read the definition for it because it says Obi-Wan's
right.
Brain fart. Obi-Wan's terrible hiding place for Luke, which I never thought it was a bad place for him to be hidden.
No, I think this one's kind of dumb, but let's talk about it.
Okay, well, what do you want to talk about?
So I think it's a great spot, like one of the best spots to hide Luke in the galaxy. Okay.
Do you think they're saying that because it's Tatooine and that's where Anakin's from?
So
is
this
that
says
their whole thing?
Luke is sent to live with Owen and Beru Lars, his step-uncle, aunt, respectively, on Tatooine. Obi-Wan then heads out to the desert to live the rest of his life as a hermit. If you're trying to prevent an evil space dictator from finding his son, it's probably best not to hide him on said dictator's home planet with said dictator's family.
Okay, but first off, he doesn't know. He doesn't even know they're alive. Like,
yeah.
Darth Vader has no idea that Luke and Leia are alive.
Right.
Till Empire Strikes Back, right? Or does he find out in A New Hope?
No, he doesn't know until technically in canon, Boba Fett tells him in between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. Okay. So he doesn't even know. Yeah. So it's like, oh, here's the thing. This is crazy because this isn't a freaking Star Wars fan. It's the best place to hide an unknown son. Like Leia would have been safer there.
Yeah.
Leia would have never been caught and thrown in prison if she had been on Tatooine.
Yeah.
Of course, her life would have been horrible, right?
Yeah, she lives on a desert planet being a farmer.
A New Hope starts with her getting captured by Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was the way worse hiding spot.
That's true.
She's going around doing Imperial Senate missions, like right under his nose. Of course she's going to get caught eventually. This guy is on a planet that Anakin hates. You know, he hates sand.
It's coarse. It's rough.
He hates his home world. Last time he was there, he snapped and killed a bunch of sand people.
Yes.
Dude's never going back. Never wants to go back. I don't know if in canon he ever goes back in between this time. Oh, wait. He absolutely does in Obi-Wan Kenobi, the series. He goes back on Tatooine, right? Is that Tatooine?
No, he doesn't go back. He goes... Because he doesn't... Because it's the girl. She goes back. What's her name? Reva. Because he doesn't go back because...
No, pinche mames.
Yeah, because they go to a different planet. It's the one... Because the one... He meets up with Obi-Wan and they have the first fight in their altercation.
Okay. Yes.
They're not on Tatooine. It's like... Because remember they get on the back of that car and they drive into town with the stormtroopers.
Right. Okay.
And that's a total... Yeah, it's not Tatooine.
Okay, different planet. So yeah, he never wants to go back to Tatooine. He hates it there. Had super bad experiences there. He was a slave there. Mm-hmm. Like that is where Anakin Skywalker has been. Anakin Skywalker is dead. He doesn't want to go back there. That's the best place to hide.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
especially with his family, who
he doesn't want anything to do with.
Yeah, like and this ends up happening, but Darth Vader, if he wants to keep his connection with the dark side, he can't go back to his family, you know, because that'll revive a little bit of Anakin in him, and you know it'll be bad for him. So of course, hiding him with his family
is the best
on Tatooine. The best, yeah.
Stupid prompt.
Dumb.
Okay, next one. This is also on slashfilm.com if you want to take a look at it. I guess they do a lot of pull-out holes in movies. This one I have a theory for. Darth Vader doesn't sense Leia is his daughter. And my theory, it's not canon. This is Spencer theory.
Sure.
Because if you look, so just go back to Return of the Jedi when Luke and Leia are talking. Do you remember your mother? And she's like, yeah. And she has a pretty fond memory of her, of Padme. But Luke doesn't remember anything at all. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if there must be something like that maybe it's like a mother-daughter relationship and a father-son relationship that you can sense it better. Because, you know, how does Luke not know anything about his mom, but Leia does, but they were born at the same exact time? Unless there's like a special connection through the Force with maybe your mother and daughter and then father and son with Luke and Anakin. Right. And that's why Anakin can sense it. Darth Vader can sense it, but he can't sense Leia because I think that's kind of my explanation for it is like there has to be a stronger bond between the two. That's what I think about it, but go ahead.
No, yeah, I think that's better than anything I can think of. Again, it just kind of goes back to he doesn't even remotely know that, like he might sense something special about her.
That's true, but maybe it's just she's Force sensitive and he doesn't think anything of it.
Yeah, like he just thinks and obviously when they first meet, she's like not holding anything back. She's rude. She's in his face, loud, right?
I would have killed her, but he needed information.
Of course, you're getting like a horrible feeling about her.
Yeah.
You know, you're feeling something. Yeah. Something special about her if she's being like this. But yeah, I think chalk it up to he had no idea he had a daughter and all this stuff's going on. So he just thinks it's something else. He's just getting his emotions confused. And that's another thing with Star Wars is I kind of wish, well, I don't want to say that, but the whole reason that Jedi fell is because they were prideful and they didn't think that anything could kind of go under their radar. And that's why Palpatine was able to. He exploited their hubris, right? Mm-hmm. So I think same thing with Darth Vader. He's been, you know, without question, the strongest being in the galaxy, maybe other than Palpatine, for so long. He doesn't even think of another connection out there like that. You know, he's been killing Jedi now for 15, 20 years, killing rogue Jedi that have survived. When he feels stuff like that, it's probably just like, yeah, no big deal. It's not even comparing to what he feels all the time. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know.
You're a smart cookie.
We don't know. We'll see.
The next one we'll skip because it's the crazy question: how did Darth Sidious survive the Death Star? But
somehow
he didn't really survive because if he had a clone, I don't know.
Right? Yeah, current canon, he did not survive. He was dead.
Yeah. It's a clone that came through. Yeah. So anyways, we'll skip that one because dumb. Princess Leia remembers her dead mom. So we just talked about this. And that's kind of the theory I stick with in my mind. It makes me feel the best about it is just, I wonder if there is just that connection, you know, because as I said, Luke just no memory, but Leia remembers pretty fondly.
Right. I've also wondered before if she's talking about her adopted mother in that.
Maybe she's confusing him because she doesn't know.
Because I don't know if we know really what happens to her eventually. And I don't know if we see the end of her story or Bail Organa's story. Because we see Bail right before the events of A New Hope in Rogue One. He appears.
Yeah, he's alive.
But we don't see his wife, so maybe she died as well at her young age.
Yeah.
But I like your explanation better. I think she is remembering Padme.
Yeah, because the reason why I don't think it's that is because in Obi-Wan, she has a pretty, like, they have a lot of conversations.
Right.
With her, and so I feel like at that age you would remember a lot of your mom. Because she's like, because even what Leia saying in Return of the Jedi is like, I remember she was beautiful, yada, yada. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Another thing, I remember when Obi-Wan, the series was coming out, they talked about how this kind of was addressed because Obi-Wan sits with Leia and explains to her what Padme was like,
Oh, yes.
And so maybe she kind of interpreted that as her own memories of her mother.
That's a good point. And maybe the Force
maybe the Force showed it to her through that.
Which would be cool. That's a kind of, okay. I think
probably makes
the most sense. Right? I think we go with that. I think that's the official answer.
Okay, you heard it here first. Canon.
Because that is true, because he does explain it to her.
Right.
I guess we should watch. I want to go back and watch what she says and what he says and see the similarities. But I could easily see the Force opening that to her and her getting a glimpse of it.
He also says something weird there, doesn't he? Just on a side note. She's like, oh, man. I remember it was like a weird. I was like, "Is he hitting on Padme after she died?"
Yeah, he does.
Anyway, we'll have to rewatch it.
He does say so. I do remember. I was like, "What? What do you mean by that?"
Okay.
The next is Jar Jar Binks' huge promotion.
Yeah, the reason for the downfall of the Republic.
Go ahead. Let's hear it.
Okay, you ever heard the theory of Darth Jar Jar?
I have not.
No way you haven't.
Darth Jar Jar.
Darth Jar Jar.
This is new to me.
Okay, so. There are all these instances of Jar Jar, and I'll be brief.
Binks, we'll have to Jar Jar Binks.
This is Binks, yeah, Mr. Binks. We'll have to do our research and talk about it next time because there are extensive, Reddit threads and people talking about this. But the theory is Jar Jar is always a klutz, right? He's always dumb. He's always getting into stupid situations. But there are also times when he's like crazy freak athletic. One example is when he dives into the water on Naboo, jumps like 15 feet in the air and perfect no splash dive into the water. Okay. Yeah. Later when they're fighting the droids, he gets that bomb stuck to his foot and takes out like 15 of them, no problem. And it's like, he's a Sith Lord. He has all these like mega force abilities, but he's pretending to be this klutz. And then later on, he's the reason that Sheev, Palpatine, gets promoted to Chancellor. He puts forward the vote. And then Palpatine becomes the Emperor.
Supreme Chancellor.
Yeah,
or Emperor.
Eventually. Well, yeah, Chancellor. And then...
Yeah.
And so the theory is he's a Sith Lord. It's either working with or Palpatine is working for him.
Now that would be a good little side story they put in there.
There's some cool fan art out there of him like as a scary Sith. Pretty cool.
That'd be cool. And that'd be funny if like when he talks, he's like totally not in his like crazy voice. He's just
that's seriously the theory. Yeah, like everything he does is an act because they're like, why would George Lucas write George Lopez? Why would he write in such a stupid, dumb character that's just for kids if there wasn't something more behind it?
I like that.
I think they give our boy a little bit too much credit. Because I think he is just meant to be comic relief, and that's why he gets written out in the later films. But what is it? This is referencing
the huge promotion. I think it's asking how he
ostracized from his own people. Immediately promoted to the position of general when the Gungans joined forces with Queen Padme Amidala's army.
But it doesn't. I mean, because he did kind of bring them together.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's why they promoted him. They're like, oh, well, you deserve. You helped us. You mended this big gap between us and the people of Naboo. So
yeah, presumably like a years long, division.
Okay, so dumb. This
guy's
an idiot.
He ended a race war, and they're wondering why he got promoted to general. That's crazy.
Okay, Obi-Wan Kenobi's real Jedi Master, which I think is it implying? I think this is talking about
Qui-Gon versus Yoda. I think,
which. Right? This just feels like someone who's not a fan because it is answered. Yeah. Because you and I have talked about it. Like Yoda trains all of the younglings.
Yes.
You watch it. It's in all of the first episodes, 1, 2, and 3, and then it's also in Clone Wars. He's literally always with them.
Always training groups of young ones.
It's before they get their official, before they become apprentices.
Yes. Yeah, because, I think they overlook, as Star Wars fans, I think I overlook this all the time, how long younglings don't have a master for.
Yeah.
Like, they're taken, ideally, pretty much right from birth. As soon as they show Force-sensitive abilities, within, like, the first year of their life, the Jedi go out, take them, bring them to the temple, and then they usually don't get masters until they're, like, 10 plus, right?
Yeah.
So that whole time they're with people like Yoda getting that training. And
the
so,
other
of course,
guy, what's his name? He's in the Clone Wars.
What is his name? He's dead in Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're talking about like the beak face guy?
Yes. I think that's offensive to say to other people.
Yeah, it probably is. I want to say, I was about to say name, but I don't want it to be Tara Sinube. Dude. It would have been so cool if I just whipped that out and I knew it on the spot. Because I did know that, and then I had to look up Sinube. That is him, Tara Sinube. Mm. So yeah.
Anyways,
he's also one of those just elderly, like, they just manage the younglings and train them. So Tara Sinube.
Yeah, and I think, because even going back to, like, Gungi, like...
Right.
That was one of the theories as well, is that he didn't have a master yet.
Yes.
Because it takes him a long time. Because he's still fairly young compared to when it was like, maybe he hadn't gotten to having an official master. So, and I think, that's the solution. I mean, that's the answer, is that Yoda does. He trains all of them. Mm-hmm. He did have his own, though, as well, because he taught Qui-Gon.
Right.
Or no, Dooku. He taught Dooku, who taught Qui-Gon. Yeah, who taught Obi-Wan. Yeah. So, I mean, he did have an official one, but I wonder if that's maybe they have, like, maybe give him a break.
Right. Well, and also, you got to think about the context of Obi-Wan telling Luke that. Like, when does he say, go train with my master on Dagobah? Luke's, like, about to die.
Yeah.
Like, Obi-Wan's not worried about formalities right there.
Yeah.
So, my master died. But this other guy that trained me is currently alive, like the Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Go find him. Like, of course, you're not going to spiel all that out.
Yeah. That's a good point. I think, because, I mean, it is answered. I mean, and it goes back to fix Star Wars, more Star Wars.
More Star Wars, that's right.
So I think the last ones here, let's see if we want to get into any of them. Come on, we're dumb. Like Rey's quick Jedi mastery, we talked about last week, but it was cut. We'll have to go back to that. Yeah. Didn't tell him about Darth Vader. We talked about that. The lying. The one that is funny is that Leia always knew that Luke was her brother.
Yeah, I always knew, and you're like, what?
Yeah, when she says that, you're like, so you just kissed him? That's kind of weird, but
that's kind of cool, though.
But maybe she always knew that, so she knew it'd get under Han's skin.
Right, there we go.
I don't know.
It could be it.
Cauterized wounds. That one. We're working on a little something.
Yeah, we're working on a little something.
We're working on a little script to send to Disney. No idea how to send a script, but it's just a fun thing. So, hey, if you guys know any people in Disney, let us know.
Yeah, boost this pod. Give us a platform. We'll share it with Disney. Well, I do like that. Cauterize wounds sometimes.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay, one other thing I want to talk about kind of in conjunction with this. The other day I was on TikTok.
Sure.
Watching Star Wars videos that pop up all the time for whatever reason. I don't know, algorithm or something.
Odd reason.
And this guy, this creator, I totally kind of disagree with him, but I think he kind of acknowledged this isn't a concrete idea, so I don't want to like blast him. But he was like, why are sometimes we see that a lightsaber can cut straight through things like a hot knife through butter, and then sometimes it'll like bounce off things, And he was like, what if we're thinking of it wrong and it's not a round blade, but it's like a regular sword with a sharp edge and then a blunt edge. And somebody like Luke, when he's hitting Darth Vader and it bounces off, he's just accidentally hitting him with the side of the sword. And it only looks like it's round because it's so bright and we can't see the edges. And then it kind of made me mad because then people in the comments were like, yeah, that's a great theory. That would explain the Darksaber and why that looks like a regular sword, because it's not emitting all that light and you can see the actual blade shape.
Yeah.
I was like, that's so wrong, because you look at the handle of the Darksaber and it's got sharp edges. It's not round.
Yeah.
Okay. The emitter isn't round.
Yeah.
This is like geek stuff, but it really kind of was
mad.
grinding my gears. And then you look at the emitters like in, well, you see them more clearly in the later movies, but in the original trilogy, you can see that they're round.
Yeah.
You can see that the emitters are round, like the blade's going to come out round.
Yeah.
The hilt is round. It's a round sword. So anyway, I was just like, I can't believe so many people are just hopping on this idea and being like, yeah, that's going to make sense. You know, doesn't make sense.
No, especially because if it's a freaking light, it's like the heat to the side, like it would.
Right. Like it would still do the same.
Yes.
Like anyway.
And that's the thing. So what this is referring to of the cauterized ones is A New Hope, when he cuts Poba. I don't pronounce his name right.
He's an Aqualish. That's all I remember.
He's an Aqualish. And so in canon, that species does not their blood cannot cauterize. That is the explanation.
For whatever reason.
Which I think, Austin and I talked about this. It'd be cool if in Tales of the Jedi, they put that in there and have kind of a side story of like why that exists, like the exact like scientific reason. But there also is another point. I remember watching, I don't know if you remember this, but in Return of the Jedi, when Leia and Han and Chewie are on Endor, and they are trying to get into the rebel base down there.
Yeah.
There's a part where Leia gets shot and she's like, there's blood. She got really? Shot. I gotta find the video.
I remember her getting shot right there by the door, but I don't remember.
I could have sworn last time I watched it, I was like, she's bleeding. Let's see if I type in Leia bleeding.
Huh.
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, look that
up. Maybe I'm, I could be totally high, which is probably right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe.
Because I feel like by that time there would have already been theories like this, and they would have been like something with that high of heat would cauterize a wound, and George wouldn't do that again.
Yeah, maybe well, I'll have to look it up because maybe it was something else. I just remember for a split second it cuts and it looks like she's bleeding, like there's like tiny little bit of blood. But I must have misseen it because everything I just looked up right there. I'll have to go back and check it out on Disney Plus, but.
Because, I mean, even if she's not, like, gushing out blood, like, you'd still see where the blaster bolt hit. And it'd be probably red or I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta look. That'll be my homework.
Okay. We got a few things. We've got a few things for homework next time.
That's it on those. The last thing is I guess we could talk about real quick is the probing capabilities, but the scanning capabilities.
Okay, I'm looking. Okay, there we go.
It talks about... the start of A New Hope, Darth Vader forces invaded a Rebel Alliance ship to retrieve the Death Star plans in their possession. Luckily, Princess Leia managed to hide the plans in R2-D2, who evades the Galactic Empire in an escape pod. Along with C-3PO, Empire officers notice the escape pod carrying the droids, okay, right here, but don't detect any life forms and assume it was simply a malfunction. Later in that film, we see Luke, Obi-Wan, Han Solo, Chewbacca, R2-D2, and C-3PO infiltrate the Death Star by hiding in the Millennium Falcon hole. The Imperial soldiers read the ship's logs, which specifies that there are no life forms aboard, which is good enough for the soldiers.
Right.
So that second one is a little interesting, but the first one, they're not life forms. It's a robot.
Right.
So it's like...
that reminds me of Family Guy, Blue Harvest.
Yes.
Or I think that's the Blue Harvest episode where he's like, there's no life forms on board. We won't shoot it. And one guy goes, what are we paying by the blaster now?
Yeah.
Like,
it's like, why wouldn't you just shoot it? Something's escaping from a ship. It's like, there might be something on it. Yeah. Like maybe like they put the plans on it or the droids. So, I mean, but that's just sometimes it's just a story's got to keep going.
Yeah. Like there's plot armor in every story. The thing with the Millennium Falcon, it is weird that they would let any ship on the Death Star just come on in. But wait, they caught it in their tractor beam. So that actually makes sense. They saw it by the Death Star, caught it in a tractor beam, and wanted to investigate it. And it would make sense that because it's like a smuggling vessel, one of the best and most notorious smuggling vessels, it has something that blocks scanning capabilities.
That's a good point.
That's what I would think. But
I think that's a perfect, because he smuggles things all the time.
Right.
He's probably life forms,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, canon.
You've heard it here first on canon.com.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, but that's it. Next week we'll be talking about episode 7 of Bad Batch.
Bad Batch. Yep.
We'll see what continues on. I think my prediction. May I?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Sid's gonna put him on a mission.
No way. Okay. I bet you Omega's gonna get in some trouble, and Hunter and the crew have to help her out.
No, I really do think. I feel like it's got a point where now they can do something where Sid's gonna screw him over.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a point in the series where that can happen.
Yeah. Dude, you know what I want to see is something with the cloners.
Yeah.
We haven't seen any of that.
Were they
this season?
Were they in the first season?
At the very end.
Oh, you're talking about the Camino people.
Yeah, so the Camino people. Sorry. But they had left Camino and they went to this other planet. I can't remember what it's called. But there was like a cloning facility being set up there. And that was how the series ended.
Yes.
Was we saw a little bit, like a little Easter egg for cloning
continuing. I mean, and I could see it being one of those off episodes where it doesn't have any of the Bad Batch and it's just them. I can see that too.
Right.
I mean, it's got to happen because I feel like they wouldn't put that in.
Well, yeah, because I think they'll use that new cloning facility and the Kaminoans to continue that research for bringing Palpatine back, or well, his backup plan, Yeah. So they've got to show it sometime in the series, but we'll see.
All right. Well, thank you for listening, and
thank you.
Thank you for being a disciple of the Force.
Thank you for being a disciple of the Force. See you next week.